Welcome to Mind the Major, y'all. I'm just tapping in with my little tribute to DMX. I'm saddened just like the rest of the world right now. The past week has just been, a trying time. I did a live last week asking for prayers for DMX. And for me, I don't know about others, but for me, it hit it kind of different because my brother that passed in 99, him and DMX favored, you know what I mean? So when I would see X, I would actually, it was like seeing my brother, you know what I mean? It was like actually seeing my brother. So for me, it hit a little different, you know? And I spoke about that in my, in the live I did last week, you know, and I shared the story about, on one occasion, I went to pick up my younger brother and a friend of mine from the job where we used to work at, and I happened to have my brother in the car with me at the time. And my homeboy, usually he would be the type of person cracking jokes, you know what I mean, all talkative and all that. But on this particular night, the whole ride back in town, he was just quiet, you know what I mean, wasn't saying nothing, and which was real unusual. So the following day, when I was taking them home or whatever, I was like, "Damn, Ricky, you all right yesterday? Yeah, I mean, you was all quiet and whatnot. Everything good?" And he was like, "No, yo, everything good, yo. I just ain't know what to say around DMX, right?" So I'm like, "What?" And he was like, "Oh, yo, I ain't never knew y'all knew DMX." I'm like, "What you talking about, my brother?" He was like, "DMX, y'all brother?" Right? I'm like, I was like, "No, man, that wasn't no DMX. That was my brother, man." He was like, "Nah, man, you ain't gonna tell me nothing. That was DMX you had in the car with you last night." And I'm like, "Man, that was my brother, man." You know what I mean? And it was so funny. It was just so funny, man. And for those that might think that I'm lying or something or I'm making this up, here's a side by side of DMX and my brother. As you can see on both, I try to get a picture with both of them, you know what I mean, had on the same type of, you know what I mean, as you can see they both got on sunglasses or whatever. You know, they're not actually twins, but there's, you know what I mean, some similarities in their features, you know what I mean, where they kind of favor, you know. But the whole thing was just hilarious, man. But yeah, the whole thing with X, man, I went through the whole week, man. I was constantly praying for him, man. I was constantly praying. I was constantly shouting. I mean, shouting verbally. "Get up, X." I mean, actually shouting verbally, randomly. "Get up, X." You know what I mean? But everybody, just with the diagnosis that was coming back, everybody knew that it was, you know what I mean, slim to none chance that he was going to pull through. But we were just hoping, because if anybody had a chance of actually pulling through something like that, it would have been X, you know. But you can't interfere with God's will, you know. So when the news actually broke today, you know, I went through my, you know what I mean? I went through my grief just like everybody else, you know. I shed my tears. I dropped you know what I mean? I dropped a couple tears or whatever, you know. Asking God, why would you take X? You know what I mean? Why you take X, man? You know what I mean? How could you take somebody like X? Somebody with a soul like that, man. How could you take a good spirit like X? How could you take a spirit like that? And I heard X say,
it's not yours. Yeah. It's not fucking yours. How the fuck you gonna keep something that ain't yours?
in true X fashion. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And it it made me think, I say, when that's just like X, just like anybody else, man. We're only here temporarily. But in the time that he was here, he left his mark, man. He left his mark, and he showed the world that anybody, you know what I mean, is capable of accomplishing anything. You know, we often hear uh, from the mud, that expression, from the mud. You know what I mean? But here you have a person that actually got it from the mud, literally. Someone with his background, going through the things that he went through to go on to be a hip hop superstar. You know what I mean? Not a star, but a hip hop superstar. You know what I mean? Turning that into becoming a box office, you know what I mean? Smash. You know? Even though he had his demons, man. He had his demons. And he was, you know what I mean, no different than any other person. But what made him different than any other person is when you got X, you actually got X. You knew that you was getting what you saw. What you saw is what you got. You know what I mean? You know that he never put on a front for nobody. You know what I mean? He never put on the front for nobody, man. So and doing all these things while battling his demons, man. It take a very strong person, you know what I mean, to be able to you know what I mean, to juggle the two. Trust me. You know what I mean? Trust me, I know. You know what I mean? And that's not an easy task. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna make this whole thing big drawn out. You know what I mean? I just wanted to, you know what I mean, pay respect to that man. You know what I mean? He got music that's timeless. You know, he has a bunch of timeless music out here. He has music that's yet to drop. Music that's actually on the way. The album that he was talking about when he did the interview with Nori in EFN on Drink Champs. You know? And the thing I want to say about his upcoming album, I just pray that Def Jam does right by DMX and his family. You know what I mean? With that album. You understand what I'm saying? But as we go on, you know what I mean, to grieve and celebrate our brother DMX, you know, I want to just take this out with some words from the man himself, DMX.
If I was to drop it right now, my last thought would be, I had a good life. God damn it.
We love you, X. Peace be still, King.